Trinadapi Sunichena Torariva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Namaiva Kevalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatiranyata. So now we will read the introductory prayers found on page 1 of the Bhagavad-gītā. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitang Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayan Dadati Swapadantikam Vandehang Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatang Sahagana Raghunathan Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutang Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devang Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We are continuing with the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā, entitled Purushottama Yoga, the Yoga of the Supreme Person. We're picking up on verse number 5. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We can chant the Sanskrit verse together. Let's go. Nirmana moha jitta sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama dvandvair vimukta sukha dukkha sangyayar gacchant yamudha padam avyayam tat. Please repeat. Ni, without. Mana, false prestige. Moha, and illusion. Jitta, having conquered. And of course, Krishna's name Ajita, everybody say, means he's never conquered. Sangha, of association. Dosha, the faults. And that word dosha appears in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Kaler dosha nide rajan. My dear Parikshit, Shukadev says, Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. Adhyatma, in spiritual knowledge. Nitya, in eternity. Vinivritta, disassociated. Kama, from lust. And we learned we will learn in chapter 16, that's the first gate leading to hell. Lust, anger, greed. Next one, dvandvai, from the dualities. Vimukta, liberated. Sukha, dukkha, happiness and distress. Sangyai, named. Gachanti, attain. Amudha, unbewildered. And we learned in chapter 9, Krishna said the mudhas, they criticize him. They find fault with him. They blaspheme him because they don't understand his transcendental position, especially when he descends in the human form. All right? Next word, padam, situation. Avyayam, eternal. Tat, that. Please repeat. Those who are free from false prestige, illusion and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto that Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. So in the beginning of this chapter, it was explained that this material world is a perverted reflection of the reality. The reality is that eternal kingdom. And we also learned in our last class here that that lake by which the perverted reflection is there, that is the lake of desire. Everything is dependent on the desire of the living entity. If the living entity desires to go to the eternal kingdom, it's possible. But if the living entity desires to stay in the perverted reflection known as the material world, the living entity can do that. Tatasta. It can go either way. The living entity has choice. Do I want to be in the spiritual world, or do I want to be in the material world? The freedom, the choice, it's up to you. Okay. And it says, know how to surrender. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us how to surrender. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Unfortunately, I got a report that somebody is telling his children that you cannot get liberated by chanting. That only by knowledge. So, that is not what Prabhupada says. That is not what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. What's that? It's not in 12th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā. All right. Shall we go to the purport? And Krishna Kumar, I'm going to explain it. Okay. Are your friends coming today? All right. The surrendering process is described here very nicely. The first qualification is that one should not be deluded by pride. And we learned in chapter 13 the 18, 19 things that are knowledge. Does anybody remember what was the first item? Was that? Yes, what's the first one? Humility. Humility was the first in the list of the items that Krishna says is knowledge. Everything else is ignorance. And what does Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say? Trinadapi sunechena. Krishna and Chaitanya are the same, so they're not going to contradict each other. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, stay meek and humble. And Krishna says the first item of knowledge is humility. All right. The first qualification is that one should not be deluded by pride. You all know, Ravan was deluded by pride. Hiranyakashipu, all the great demons, that is how their downfall. What did Ravan say? I'm not concerned about human beings and animals, right? When he got his benediction, when Ravan got his who did he get it from? Lord Brahma? Yes. He didn't, because of pride, Ravan did not ask for immunity from humans and animals. Because, so what did Ram arrange? I'll take birth as a human, and all the demigods took birth as monkeys. And that's how Ravan was destroyed, by his pride. Because you may think, I may think, I will cheat God, but God knows how. You want to cheat me? Okay. You want the benediction from humans and animals? Okay. I'll defeat you with my monkey army. Welcome back. Hare Krishna. Did you have a good trip to India? Did you go to your Kurukshetra? Very good. Excellent. And did you get all blessings? Was very good. Do they have anything there regarding Arjuna? Is there like any?
There's a place there called Brahma Sarovar.
Brahma Sarovara.
And then like over 500 yogis live there, and thousands of people visit that place every day.
Ah.
They play Bhagavad-gītā, so I give them my CDs.
Jai. And welcome back, Meenakshi Vajrani Devi Dasi. The family is looking glowing. Glowing. Very nice. All right, we're in the purport to text number 5 of chapter 15. Okay. Because the conditioned soul is puffed up, thinking himself the Lord of material nature, it is very difficult for him to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know by the cultivation of real knowledge that he is not Lord of material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Lord. When one is freed from delusion caused by pride, he can begin the process of surrender. For one who is always expecting some honor in this material world, it is not possible to surrender to the Supreme Person. Pride is due to illusion, for although one comes here, stays for a brief time, and then goes away, he has the foolish notion that he is the Lord of the world. He thus makes all things complicated, and he is always in trouble. The whole world moves under this impression. People are considering the land, this earth, to belong to human society. Yes. In America, we have that song, "This land is my land, this land is..." It's one of their bhajans, the American bhajans. Very famous, right? Now that's not, well, Prabhupada's saying, no, it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to Krishna. People are considering the land, this earth, to belong to human society, and they have divided the land under the false impression that they are the proprietors. One has to get out of this false notion that human society is the proprietor of this world. When one is freed from such a false notion, he becomes free from all the false associations caused by familial, social, and natural affections. And that was Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, right? The whole time and time again, Dhritarashtra was told by Vidura, by Vyasadeva, by Krishna, by so many people, right? Become free from that. When Duryodhana was born, what did Vidura say? Abandon him right now, because this son of yours is going to destroy your whole family. But he couldn't give up that attachment. And what happened at the end? What did Bhima do? Systematically killed each and every one of Dhritarashtra's sons. He vowed, right? When Draupadi was dishonored, Bhima vowed, I will kill all your sons. He made that vow. And sure enough, he was waiting and waiting because he wanted to do it long time. And every time Yudhishthira said, no, wait. Bhima was ready to do it on the spot, right then and there. Yudhishthira said, no, you wait. And then when the battle came, day 1, day 2, one by one, till finally the last one that he killed, Duryodhana, with the help of Krishna. He needed Krishna's help for that because he was having a hard time. He couldn't do it, but then Krishna told him, there's the secret. Haribol. Purport to verse 5 of chapter 15. Glad to see. I've been missing all of you for so long. Been missing. Okay. The faulty associations bind one to this material world. After this stage, one has to develop spiritual knowledge. One has to cultivate knowledge of what is actually his own and what is actually not his own. And when one has an understanding of things as they are, he becomes free from all dual conceptions such as happiness and distress, pleasure and pain. He becomes full in knowledge. Then it is possible for him to surrender to the Supreme Personality of God. And that is why we study Bhagavad-gītā, or we study Srimad Bhagavatam, or Nectar of Devotion, or the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, or the Ramayana. All these, or the Mahabharata even, they will teach you what is true, what is not true. All right, let us go to verse number 6, which is a very nice verse. Let's chant it together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Na tad basayate suryo, na shashanko na pavaka, yad gyatva na nivartante, taddama paramang mama. Please repeat. Na, not, tad, that, basayate, illuminates, surya, the sun. So, let's see if anybody knows. In the Mahabharata, Surya's son is Karna. Very good. Hey, I just thought. Na, nor, Shashanka, the moon. Na, nor, Pavaka, fire, electricity. Yat, where, Gatva, going. Na, never, Nivartante, they come back. Tadhama, that abode. Paramam, supreme. Mama, my. Please repeat. That supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun nor moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. So sometimes the question is raised. Here's Krishna's answer. If you get there, don't worry. You're not going to return to this material world. So I've always said, just believe Krishna. Don't doubt Krishna. If you start doubting Krishna, you're going to have lots of problems. So Krishna says, you don't return. Just, yes, Prabhu. Yes, but again, Krishna is saying you're not. So the way I explained that, Krishna is saying if you get there, you're not, right? Yes, you could. That's possible. But here Krishna is it's not going to happen. Why? You've learned your lesson. Okay? You've learned your lesson. So that's why I was making that point. Yes, you could, but Krishna is saying, don't worry, it's not good. So in other words, don't worry, because that becomes a word. Oh, I could not. Krishna is saying you're not. So that's why I'm saying, just have faith in Krishna. right? It's much better to have faith in Krishna. Good enough? You have faith in Krishna, right? Okay. Yeah, I don't want to come back either. Yeah. All right, purport. The spiritual world, the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, which is known as Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan, is described here. In the spiritual sky, there is no need of sunshine, moonshine, fire, or electricity, because all the planets are self-luminous. We have only one planet in this universe, the sun, which is self-luminous. But all the planets in the spiritual sky are self-luminous. The shining effulgence of all those planets, called Vaikunthas, constitute the shining sky known as Brahma Jyoti. Actually, the effulgence is emanating from the planet of Krishna, Goloka Vrindavan. Part of that shining effulgence is covered by the Mahat Tattva, the material world. Other than this, the major portion of that shining sky is full of spiritual planets, which are called Vaikunthas, the chief of which is Goloka Vrindavan. And on Prabhupada's Bhagavatams, the first canto is a depiction. The first canto, it used to be 3 volumes. So volume 1 and volume 3 had the painting of what Prabhupada is describing. And even his original Bhagavatams that he brought from India had that same cover, which is describing Krishna Loka and all the other planets. And when I joined the temple in Brooklyn in 73, the original painting of that first canto was there in the temple room. So I would chant japa and I would look at all the different, because they'd have Trivikram and this. So I would chant japa and I would look, right? I was like this close to the painting and I could see. And I really liked that. It was huge. It was like, as big as this. It was that big, the original painting, and was this size. Let's continue. As long as the living entity is in this dark material world, he is in conditional life. But as soon as he reaches the spiritual sky, by cutting through the false perverted tree of this material world, he becomes liberated. Then there is no chance of his coming back here. In his conditional life, the living entity considers himself to be the Lord of this material world. But in his liberated state, he enters into the spiritual kingdom and becomes an associate of the Supreme Lord. There he enjoys eternal bliss, eternal life, and full knowledge. One should be captivated by this information. So here's your test. Are you captivated by this information? If you are, you're doing good. But if you're thinking, who cares? Then, right? Some people might say, I don't care. But if you are captivated by what you just heard, like Kamle said, I don't want to come back. So he has to be captivated by this, and I would assume you all are. Otherwise, why would you waste your time here? Boys, are you captivated by this information? Are you? Good. Thank you. Okay, he should desire to transfer himself to that eternal world and extricate himself from this false reflection of reality. For one who is too much attached to this material world, it is very difficult to cut that attachment. But if he takes to Krishna consciousness, there is a chance of gradually becoming detached. One has to associate himself with devotees, those who are in Krishna consciousness. One should search out a society dedicated to Krishna consciousness and learn how to discharge devotional service. That is what Prabhupada, that's ISKCON. ISKCON is not the politics and all that. This is ISKCON. All right? This is what Prabhupada why he created it. Or you could say, this is why I do my Namahat programs. I'm doing my Namahat programs for this purpose. And that's why I like it when you come. One should search out a society dedicated to Krishna consciousness and learn how to discharge devotional service. In this way, he can cut off his attachment to the material world. And I will confess that within the last 2 weeks, Krishna has arranged that he has cut off for me a very heavy attachment. He's taken it away, and I feel so good. I'm so happy Krishna took that away. It's not important to know what it is. We'll see. We'll see. Don't speculate. We'll see. Just suffice it to say, he cut off an attachment, and it's very, later I'll say, but not now. Okay? I know, you always want to know. Okay. In this way, he can cut off his attachment to the material world. One cannot become detached from the attraction of the material world simply by dressing himself in saffron cloth, which Prabhupada had lots of experience of that in India, that men would become frustrated in their family life or whatever. So, okay, I'll just put on saffron cloth. Now I'm a Swami or a Sadhu. And then what happens? Then he still gets entangled with women and money. He hasn't really cut off the attachment. That's what Prabhupada is referring to. He must become attached to the devotional service of the Lord. And you all know there are 9 items. So become attached to hearing or chanting. In the case of the 2 young lads here, they are now attached to Kirtan, yes? So that's the second, Ashravanam, Kirtanam. So this is good. The fulfillment of all your Bhagavad-gītā and other devotional service in you have bestowed upon your 2 sons. They have faith. Am I assuming right? You have faith in Kirtan. You have a taste. The Vrajavasis? Very good. At such a young age, they have this attachment. That is, boys, you should know, that is the blessings of your parents. They have surrendered. They are so. This is the real, what is that trickle down thing that they talk about? Trickle down. It has trickled down to you. Very good. Keep it going. Good. Very good. Okay. He must become attached to the devotional service of the Lord. Therefore, one should take it very seriously that devotional service, as described in the 12th chapter, is the only way to get out of this false representation of the real tree. In chapter 14, the contamination of all kinds of processes by material nature is described. Only devotional service is described as purely transcendental. So I was saying, so either become attached to hearing, chanting, or some, they're really into doing the deity worship. So that's good. That should be cultivated. Or me, I'm attached to preaching, right? Prabhupada once said that's the best service. Or you may be, whatever, item of devotional service you can become attached to, that is your perfection, right? Hanuman, he simply wanted to serve Ram in any way. That is his perfection. Shukadev by chanting the Bhagavatam, Parikshit by hearing, and Prahlad by remembering, and Dhruv, yes, Dhruv got perfection after 5 years of age. And what I was thinking of something. Just like, you like to do that flower seva, fool seva in Radharaman temple? Huh? Bhog seva. Oh, not the flower. Bhog seva. Very good. Don't give up that service. That's an excellent service. Jai Krishna Das, you like your new Dwarka service, right? If somebody offered you $1 million to take your place, what would you say? Kamlesh, your service is Bhagavad-gītā, yes? If Bill Gates came, I'll give you $1 billion, stop that. Are you going to do? No. Right? Bharati, you like to do your service in the Pujari room in New Dwarka? Huh? Yes. You're not going to, all of you now, you have different things. Don't give it up. That attachment that you have for that's Krishna's Ashirvad. That is Krishna's Ashirvad. If you have some particular attachment for a service, what's the word? Cherish it. Treasure it. Don't lose it. Because it could be taken away. Your taste. I'm talking about your taste, your desire to want to do that. That's the key. That you, no matter what, I want to do that. Okay, let's continue. The words paramang mama are very important here. Actually, every nook and corner is the property of the Supreme Lord. But the spiritual world is paramam, full of 6 opulences. Aisvarasya samagrasya, viryasya yashasa shriya, jnana varagyos chaiva, shanam bhaga itingana. So, wealth, beauty, fame, power, wisdom, renunciation. So the spiritual world, right? Full of 6 opulences. Sometimes you'll see that Lakshmi is the personification of the 6 opulences. And Krishna is the possessor. Okay, let's continue. The Katha Upanishad also confirms that in the spiritual world there is no need of sunshine, moonshine, or stars. Na tatra surya bhati, na chandra tarakam. For the whole spiritual sky is illuminated by the internal potency of the Supreme Lord. That supreme abode can be achieved only by surrender and by no other means. And we're so fortunate we have Mr. Surrender himself. Let us chant the Maha Mantra, everybody.